changed shape completely doing that. And she wasn't feminine or masculine, she was just on the way to being grown up.
Yes.
Adolescent, and so I suppose about 12 and a half I thought she was, or 13
Yes.
at the outside.
Yes.
So, I mean, if she stuffed the rice pudding that she didn't eat at lunchtime at school in her filthy hanky up her knickers, that was exactly what every other child did.
Yeah.
So that was not deviating either.
But what about the voices? I mean, where do you get them from? Were they observable voices, the girls that you...
Well, things Monica was a sort of conglomeration of girls, for instance, that I went to school with, and a girl who lived next door to my mother who had a brace on her teeth, and she wasn't allowed to get through the garden fence, you see. And my mother caught her one day and said, "Oh, aren't I a squeezy?" So that was a bit of her. And then, of course, Marlene, she actually came when I worked in Birmingham, in pantomime, and I had very little responsibility in the theatre then, and I could take in a lot of other things, which one isn't able to do so much when there's a lot to do in the theatre. And I had a landlady, you know, who said, "Well, no, I don't eat much, you know. I don't fancy it when I cook it, you know. I never have breakfast. I just have bacon and egg. I force it down. So then I don't have another bite till 10 o'clock. I have a cup of tea and a few biscuits. Then nothing passes my lips till 11. She was at it all the time. And I thought this was so funny, and saying good night each. And when they'd got the door hand in their hand, so nobody was offended. And if the football match, if they were playing rather slowly, they used to shout, "Come on, you'll have it dark." You know, they weren't playing quick enough. They'd get into the night time.
Yeah.
And all these things I thought were so funny at the time. And I thought that I must sometime do them.
Yeah, you must, of course, you mentioned the landladies. I mean, the stories that, I suppose anybody who went on tour, as you would, toured a lot in the early days,
yes.
the digs, the stories. I mean, some of these landladies are, in fact, great comic figures, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there are so many stories about landladies. I mean, there's one rather lovely one about Tony Hancock, who was trying to impress some girls he'd taken home, and he shouted down, you know, from his combined room, "I say, Ma, are there any more curry?" And then I had a marvellous landlady, actually, the very last one I had, and I had a cupboard full of drinks, and I like Pernod, you know, that sort of aniseedy taste that goes cloudy when you put water in. And I'd been out to do a thing with the mayor and Jimmy Edwards, a function, I mean. And I got back, and she said, "Would you like a cup of tea?" And I said, "Oh, no, but I'd love a Pernod." And she said, "Shall I peel it for you?" And that was my very last landlady story, actually.
Yeah. When, in fact, did you realise... I mean, what was the start of this career of yours as a comedian? When did you first realise you had the ability to make people laugh?
Well, I started saying I wanted to do it when I was 4. Doing it is quite a different thing, because it's a very long apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And to find your own coat hanger is the difficult thing if you're going to be a comic. So I started actually by doing impressions of other people. And I used to pretend I was a maid and dress up as a maid called Ethel. And I was supposed to clean their shoes outside the hotel doors. And then I did the impressions of the people living in the hotel, you know, like Gracie Fields and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
And I thought I was lovely then. I think I'm awful now. But, you know, when you know nothing, you think it's marvellous.
Yes.
And then, of course, gradually, I got £2 a week, actually, when I first started. And then I got a pantomime after that. And that was when I went to see a man in Manchester called Jack Gillam. And I said, "Can I have a job?" And he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Everything." And he said, "How much do you want?" And I said, £3 a week. And he said, "All my life I've been looking for somebody who would do everything."